Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jennifer Springer, and I am an academic trainer with the Center for Teaching and Learning. Today's session is titled New Cybersecurity Trends in 2022 with faculty member Dr. Mohamed Ghonimy. Thank you for being with us today. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we hand the floor over to my presenter. I'm currently recording our time together, and the video will be posted on the Center for Teaching and Learning LibGuides webinar page within 24 hours. If you do have questions throughout today's session, you can type them into the Q&A box located at the bottom of the Zoom window, and the chat feature is also open. We do encourage all questions, so please don't be shy. And with that, I will turn it over to our presenter.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. And hello, everyone. And thanks for the CTL team, for Jennifer and for Emily. Actually, I'm just talking to Jennifer. I told her we really started the idea of this webinar in April. I was talking to Emily, and we're just talking about cybersecurity, and she's like, you should really do a webinar, and here we are. And I picked October because it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so that was a good timing for it. So let's go ahead and start. So first of all, I'm just going to introduce myself again. I'm Dr. Ghonimy, and I'm an adjunct professor here at North Central University, and I teach cybersecurity and digital forensics. First thing I'm going to talk about is events that changed cybersecurity in 2022. And I really feel like this is always a good intro, because in order to understand the new trends in 2022, we need first to know what kind of events that really influence this kind of trends. Then we'll talk about the trends itself. And then I know a lot of people, when we just talk about, like the new cyber attacks and stuff like that, they always ask, what now? Like, you just make us paranoid and scared, but what should we do to protect ourselves? So I'll make sure at the end to talk about that. And then we're gonna have the open discussion or Q&A. I like calling it open discussion because not just about asking questions, but if you have a comment or thought, please feel free to share it with me. So first of all, the first event that really changed cybersecurity in 2022 was COVID. And a lot of people will be like, well, COVID really didn't start in 2022. That's correct. But the cyber crime went up 600% due to COVID-19. And someone might be like, what's the relationship between cyber attacks and COVID? When COVID started and so many people started to work remotely, there are so many employees, they started working remotely, but they were not really prepared to work remotely. They didn't have the proper cybersecurity training to work remotely. And there was like an influx use for the internet. And that really, like I said, that really encouraged a lot of hackers to start hacking individuals and organizations as well. The second event was the war between Ukraine and Russia. And Russia actually have a big history with Ukraine when it comes to cyber attacks. But in 2015, the Russian actually launched what would be a cyber warfare against the power grid in Ukraine. And actually there were few Ukrainian cities, they were basically blacked out and they lost electricity for a few hours. Fortunately, the one in 2022 that was part of the bigger war, fortunately, Ukraine was more prepared and it didn't really have a lot of impact. However, like I said, it became one of the things that really influenced the new trend. The third event, and it really big, and a lot of people maybe haven't heard about it a lot, it's actually Conti ransomware in Costa Rica. And that was again launched by a group of Russian hackers. And this actually attack was really very interesting because this attack, first of all, it lasted for almost 2 months. And these hackers, they managed to almost make really the infrastructure in Costa Rica crippled in April and May of 2022. And they asked the Costa Rican officials for ransom. And in the beginning, they didn't really pay the ransom, and they actually expanded this attack. And like I said, it lasted for about 2 months. And I'm not really sure 100%, but I really think that's the first time ever any countries declared the state of emergency, national emergency, because of cyber attack. So basically, the entire country was under a state of emergency because of this cyber attack. Costa Rica really lost a lot of money. They were losing about $38 million per day and up to $125 million every 48 hours. So that was really one of the biggest events as well. The last one was another cyber attack on Capital One. And this one, what's interesting about it is hackers started to realize that a lot of companies, like Capital One, they started to use the cloud services. So they started to target cloud services, and Capital One, they used Amazon cloud, and there's actually this attack. 100 million people were impacted, and their personal information were stolen. And Capital One has to pay, I think, up to $158 million fine. So that was really one of the other big event that happened in 2022. So let's now talk about the trends itself. So the first thing is we have a widespread of remote work creates large attack surface. Again, the more people work remotely, the more people use the internet, the bigger the surface is for hackers to attack. The second is increased attack on cloud-based services, because unfortunately, most of cloud service providers, they really more into make the cloud user-friendly and more about convenience, but yet we don't really have the proper security for cloud services. Then we're going to talk about the significant increase of state-sponsored cyber warfare. And then we're going to talk about also rise of automotive hacking. And this is really gaining a lot of traction today. And then we'll talk about child identity fraud and synthetic identity fraud. And then we will end with the cybersecurity fatigue. So again, when we go back to the spread of using remote work right now, this is just really a nice, a nice chart I always like to show people, because it shows that in pre-pandemic in 2019, only people who worked remotely were about 8%. And people who work hybrids like more than 10%, but less than 100, they were 32. And then people who work fully on site, they were 60%. In February of 2022, this number jumped to 39%. And the hybrid to 42, and then this number, you can tell the significant decrease between 60% and 19%. A lot of experts, they are expecting that, we're starting to go back to norm, so these numbers might go a little bit less. However, again, if you look from 39 to 24, it's still a big number. From 42 to 53 is still relatively a big number. From 19 to 23, it's still not really, significant increase. So what does this number tell us? This number tell us that every single person who works remotely need to be aware of how can I protect myself. Because really right now, it's not just about the IT team in any organization to protect the organization. No, now it's we will play a role one way or another in protecting our information and our organization information as well. Because when we look here at the number at the end, when it says preferred location, this one 32%, this one 59%. So basically 91%, they prefer to work remotely. And this is going to be the future. and only 9% want to work fully on site. So again, that tells us we need to do a better job when it comes to staying safe while we are doing our work remotely. The second thing we're going to talk about is increased attack on cloud-based services. And 47% of educational institutions experience cyber attacks on cloud-based services. Because what happened is, during COVID, again, when we started to be fully online, I mean, fortunately, there were universities, like North Central, you are already fully online, so they didn't have a lot of problems. But, the traditional universities, they really have a lot of problems because, again, they were not expecting these kind of events. And most of these organizations, they are the one who really were victims for cyber attack. And in the last 18 months, 79% of companies have experienced at least one cloud data breach, at least one. There are actually 43% of the 79 reported 10 or more breaches in that time. So that tells you how much really hackers are focusing on cloud services and how it's easy actually for them to launch these kind of attacks. And unfortunately, despite being aware of these challenges, only 1 in 5 organizations assess their overall cloud security in real time. And like I said, this number is very concerning because really for us, we should do way better job at protecting ourselves, especially when it comes to cloud services, especially again today with more people to start working remotely. When it comes to state-sponsored cyber warfare, we have 26.3% of cyber warfare strikes are directed towards the United States. So yes, the United States, it has the biggest focus of the cyber warfare. And we have 35% of all politically motivated cyber attacks have links with China or Russia. And like I said, the United States for the past few years really have been the target for Russians and Chinese hackers. And right now, it's not just individuals, not just small groups, but it's actually state-sponsored, like the government itself. They kind of lead these kind of efforts. As a matter of fact, now in the Chinese military and in the Russian military, they have their own cyber units that actually sometimes launch some sort of attacks. And that's why if you ever go to the FBI top 10 wanted list, a lot of the time you actually find Chinese hackers, or you find sometimes Russian hackers as well. So that really sometimes, it's something, it's really very concerning. And unfortunately, which is really very interesting, a lot of countries that might not be very sophisticated military, they actually would rather to launch cyber attacks. So one of the, for example, countries right now that really pay a lot of money to invest in cyber warfare is North Korea, for example. They really invest a lot of money for that because the future is not for the tanks and for the planes. The future is for the cyber warfare and for the drones as well, right? And I was actually working with a student in Johns Hopkins and on a project, and this project was about how can you target a drone, was basically hacking this drone or launching a DDoS attack against this drone. So basically, instead of spending a lot of money on rockets, stuff like that, no, you can literally just hack this drone or launch a DDoS attack. So hopefully, this drone will not fulfill its mission, for example. The number of DDoS attacks is expected to reach 14.5 million by the end of 2022. And that again will tell you the significance of increase in cyber warfare. And it really now it's really gaining a lot of attention right now. Next, we're going to talk about automotive hacking. And actually, for this one, Now we are in 2022, but actually I'll tell you something very interesting. In 2015, I was actually in a webinar with one of the professors in Johns Hopkins. His name is Avi Rubin, and he was actually at the time in Johns Hopkins. They bought a car and they decided, like, can we hack this car? It's a smart car. How can we hack this car? And the results actually were kind of scary because they really managed to hack this car. They managed to change the speedometer. So basically, you can be going 80 miles an hour, and the speedometer will show that you're going maybe 50 or 40. So just imagine if this happened to you while you are driving on a highway. Also, which is really even scarier, is the fact that they can disable the brakes of a car. Believe it or not, they can do that. So like I said, automotive hacking really now is getting a lot of attention from the industry because it can cause death. And this is really when gets serious, because for the most part, when someone, their passwords or their credentials get hacked, you don't really feel the direct impact right away. But when your car will get hacked and someone tried to disable your brakes, or like I said, change the speedometer, that could really lead to very serious consequences. And again, when we look at the statistics we have, spike 225%, increase in automotive cybersecurity incidents in the past 3 years. And 85% of these attacks were conducted remotely because, again, a lot of people think in order for a hacker to hack my car, he needs to have physical access to my car. That's absolutely not correct. So and again, the numbers shows us that 85% of these attacks were conducted remotely without any physical contact. 35, also we have, so here when we look at this one, we have data privacy breaches at 38%, and we have car theft that was 27%. But so far, the one we really are more concerned about is this one, the control systems, that was 20%, because basically this is how these hackers will hack in your control system. And also that privacy breach, it's a big concern as well. One, in my opinion, I've read the most scary things so far. It is a child identity fraud, in my opinion. And the reason why I'm saying that is because just imagine if you have, a child that's from the age of 1 to 6, and the hackers will manage to hack their information like social security and date of birth, and they can really ruin their future before they even start. So we have over 1.3 million children have fallen victims to identity theft, which is really a big number. And 50% of these victims, they were at the age of 6, or younger, which again, it's in a way, it's kind of scary. So, okay, how does that exactly work? Because a lot of people say, these kids, they don't go to the internet, they can't provide information to people. Actually, they do, and I'll tell you how. Unfortunately, today, at the age of 2, there are actually a lot of parents who will buy their kids, like a tablet or a laptop. And most of the time, a lot of people do a good job with parental control, as you should. But some people, they kind of get lazy about that, and they just hand the laptop or the tablet to their kids. And hackers can actually hack this tablet and started gathering information about these kids. Also, one really big thing I want to caution everyone about is gaming system. Again, a lot of these kids, they get into gaming systems as they try to play games. But when you play online, you don't know who's on the other end of the screen. You play with people, you don't know who they are, where they are from, or even how old they are. So sometimes really that can lead to a lot of problems. And that's why I always tell people, please be careful when you give your children access to the internet. Please be mindful of these problems, because You don't want your kid to be 6 years old and their identity will get stolen and they have a bad credit record or anything like that. So you really have to be very careful with that. Then the second thing we're going to talk about synthetic identity fraud. And actually, some people might say, what is that? I just know identity theft. I've never heard of synthetic. So for the longest time, actually, hackers used to just steal your identity, sell it in the black market, and get paid. End of story, right? But hackers actually realized that if I can steal your identity and tweak your identity to use it to hack other people, I can actually make more money. So just give you an example how this works. Let's say I am a faculty at North Central University and someone stole my identity. So basically they can take my name, my social security, everything, and they can, let's say, create a LinkedIn profile and they can approach other faculty and you'll be like, hey, my name is Professor so-and-so, now I became, like a dean in another university and I'm looking for, for like a new faculty. So please send me a resume. So part of sending a resume, you get the name, you get the date of birth. Sometimes, you might have to, require some personal information. So basically what the hackers are doing is they're not just stealing my identity. No, they are also using my identity to hack other people. Okay, so what's really scary about that? What's scary about that is when the person who is a victim find out he was a victim for that, he will think it's me. I am the one, who like stole his identity. So they actually not going to go after the hacker. He actually is going to go after me. And then the burden is going to be on me to actually prove it wasn't me. So see how this is scary. And really a reason why I want to stress more on that, because a lot of my students will say, I don't do online banking. I don't have any important information online. I don't really do a lot online, right? Which is great. But there is one thing people don't understand, which is your identity is the most valuable thing you have. This is more valuable than anything you ever have. If someone hacked your credit card, guess what? You can get another one, you can start monitoring your credit. But if you lost your identity, you are going to lose your identity for good. So please take this very, very seriously. For the cybersecurity fatigue, I actually found a really very good video. It's only 3 minutes video. It's by the director of NEST, and she's explaining what is cybersecurity fatigue. And I really think it's a very good video. So let's watch this video and we will continue after this video is over.
Network access, it's comfortable. Your experiences, your stories, because that's what I and what can do most of the day. that it knows how to do very easily on this. This may be that these security phenomenon we now security.
Right. So I will make sure I will send the link for the video because some people have issues with the with the audio. So I'll be more than happy to provide that at the end. But basically, I'm just gonna talk exactly about what you talked about. What happened is, especially again during COVID, right? Some people who were like used to work like fully on site, right? They all of a sudden they have to work at home, and security became a big topic for them, right? We have to use multi-factor authentication. You have to change your password. You have to make sure you have an antivirus. You have to make sure you have this. Because, and by the way, like in education, it was not that bad. But can you imagine a banker working from home? And all this regulation these bankers have to go through, and the sensitive information this banker might have working from home, it's a lot. It is a lot. They deal with a lot of sensitive information. So basically, like I said, it caused a lot of cyber fatigue. And what happened at the end is, like she said, we go back to our old bad habits, right? We just get tired of people talking to us about security. And that's is why, like when we get emails from, the IT admin about you have 5 days to change your password. It's like, oh my God, here we go again. I'm tired, of changing my password all the time. And people don't think we can have the usability and security, but actually we do. But what we really need to do is we need to include the user. Back. I wanted to do that. There you go. So what now? I made you all scared and paranoid because like the world is collapsing, and countries are hacking each other, and everyone getting hacked. And so what now? What now is, what's the solution? First, you need to limit your use of public Wi-Fi. And this is really huge because here's what I'm going to tell people right now. As long as you're on a public Wi-Fi, by the way, when you log in or you try to connect to any public Wi-Fi, they literally tell you this Wi-Fi is not secure. Are you okay? They literally tell you that. And we all say, yeah, sure, let's go for it. So, okay, what if I'm in Starbucks, or any place a restaurant that has a Wi-Fi? Does that mean I should not use it at all? If you really, really, really like desperate to use it, don't do anything that includes your personal information. Don't do online banking. Don't try to get your social media. Try to limit your use as much as you can if you want to listen to music or something like that. Number two, review privacy settings on social media on a regular basis. Why? Because all the time, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, these people, they keep updating their privacy settings all the time. And sometimes we really don't really pay attention of what's going on. So all the time there are vulnerabilities. Hackers try to steal, our information, and these social media companies, they try to include another new settings that actually might help us. But the thing is, if we did not implement it or adopt this new privacy settings, we're still vulnerable. So we need all to do that. Number three, we all need to educate your parents, kids, and family members about identity theft, because really that's another big topic that it's going on right now. Lastly, and this is actually my favorite quote ever. It's not my own, but I heard it in one of the conferences. Don't forget, if you don't pay for a product, you are the product. What does that mean? That means we don't pay for Facebook, we don't pay for social media. How does these companies make money? They make money from our information, from selling our information. So what does that mean? That mean I should not use Facebook? No, I never said that. But what I'm trying to say is you have to be smart about it. Make sure you don't include a lot of your private information, about your personal information. I'll tell you guys a very simple example. Just a few days ago, there was a grandmother, and her grandson, he got his driver's license for the first time. He passed his driving test, and he got his driver's license. Do you know what she did? She took a picture of it and she posted on Facebook because she's so proud of her grandson. But for me, as a cybersecurity professional, I'm like, this is killing me because you are giving this out to people. Someone now can take a picture of it or can download the picture, and you don't know the significance of really sharing this kind of information. So this is really something we have to be very, very, really careful about. Another thing is, which I know really is going to sound trivial, but believe it or not, it's very important. A lot of people delist their family members on Facebook. Like when you open someone's Facebook, it would say, this is, so-and-so son, so-and-so daughter, and this is a cousin, and this is, grandfather. It sounds really trivial, but it's actually dangerous. Again, it is dangerous because here's the deal. A lot of the time, hackers will take advantage of that and try to use this to their advantage for a phishing attack or something like that. I'll give you a very, very, very quick story, and actually, this is going to be the end of my presentation. I work for a university, and we have in service day. So in service day, usually, like all staff, they meet with the president or vice president, and faculty, we were home because this is just for staff. So in service day, including IT staff, right? So we all got phishing email. It says from the president of the university, it says, I'm so sorry, I am in service right now, and my son so-and-so, which by the way, the son is like, they use the real name for the son. My son so-and-so, he got in a car accident. I can't leave right now. I just need $200 for blah, 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 whatever. Please don't tell anyone because this is embarrassing. Okay? Do you know how many people fall for that? At least 50 people. At least 50 people send the money. Why? Because when these hackers, they did their homework, they knew exactly the president's going to be in service. So he would not be able, because a lot of people texted the president, trying to email the president like, hey, is that you? He could not respond because he was in service, he was busy. And all the staff were busy. So they really could not verify if this is true or not. So people ended up sending the money. So like I said, hackers, they really use any personal information that we might have for their advantage to end up trying to steal our information. But again, like I said, try to use it to really steal other people's information as well. Another thing I'm going to mention is your Wi-Fi at home. Make sure you have a very strong password. And I'll tell you why. Because we have one of the big attacks right now that really gain a lot of traction, as we call it ward driving, right? Basically meaning as hackers get in a car and they have an antenna, and they will see where the wireless are, like Wi-Fi, and they will try to hack this Wi-Fi. Okay, let's say now they crack the password of your Wi-Fi. So what? Here's the problem. Hackers actually are very generous with each other. So do you know what they do? After they hack the password and they know the password, there is a map on the dark web. They will put your address with your password. So other hackers, if they are in the area, they can help themselves and they can go log into your Wi-Fi as well. So it's not just one. No, you can actually have so many people. Okay, so what? Someone using my Wi-Fi. No, they can actually use your Wi-Fi to hack other people. What's even more dangerous, and that really happened a lot recently, a lot of hackers will sell access, like they will sell your username and your location to someone if someone want to watch child pornography and don't want to get caught. So again, there are a lot of incidents where people, like didn't do anything and you find, like maybe like an FBI agent knocking on your door because you were watching, child pornography or something like that, or you are accused of hacking someone else and you're like, I don't even know. Some of these people, like elder people, that's why, they don't really use password at all. They use a very weak password. So really, like I said, password for your Wi-Fi, it's really very, very important. Try not to share this password with anyone except family members, because like I said, a lot of people really get hurt by that. And again, one more thing I'm going to mention, I'm going to, so the Federal Trade Commission website, it's really a very good website for resources about how to stay safe online for kids, for elderly, for employees, for everyone. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop sharing for a second, and I'm going to put two links. So I'm going to put the link for the video, and I'm also gonna put a link for the FTC website, because like I said, it's really very beneficial for each one. Like I said, not just for you, but also for your kids, for your parents, for everyone. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do that just in a minute. And once we finish, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Okay, Jennifer, can everyone see the link I posted on the chat box?
Yes, we
Okay.
can see.
Okay, great.
Everyone should be able to see that link.
Okay, so this is for the FTC,
Oh, wait.
and the one for the video, I will share just in a second.
Actually, it looks like you did hosts and panelists instead of everyone. Let me see if I can get that to everyone here.
Yeah, because I think that's the only option they give me. They don't give me option to send it to everyone.
Oh, that's not.
And also, here is. Meanwhile, I'm just gonna send it to people who requested it until you find it. So Gary, he said the chat is disabled, so I'm not really sure why. Any ideas?
I'm looking right now. I don't see an option for my chat is disabled. I see this tile now. Can someone try now?
Sure. Let me try one more time. No, it still says host a panelist or a PO. Doesn't really give me the option to send it to everyone. I mean, I think you can send it to everyone. So if you want to just, if I can just send it to YouTube and this, and you can send it to them. Seems like you can send it to everyone. I can't send it to. Well, meanwhile, until we do this, please let me know if you guys have any questions for me. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions, or if you have any comments. I think I got one question. Let me see about cloud services, I believe. And my idea is, yeah, I think from Adam Jones. I'm noticing many companies are no longer producing on-site or on-prem solution, opting for cloud-based only services. How do you recommend increasing your cybersecurity protection with cloud-based servicing? Adam, in my opinion, here's the thing. Number 1 and 2 and 3 solution is give training to your staff and your employee, because here's the problem. A lot of issues with cloud actually comes from misconfiguration, or you did not update, you don't have the proper updates for your services. So the first thing I would do, I would definitely start doing some training for employees. Also, as we mentioned in the presentation, I highly recommend that you assess, meaning all the time you assess the security in the cloud to make sure you keep up with any new vulnerabilities that comes out. That's really big as well. Lastly, if you use a cloud provider, for example, I would say do some investigation about this cloud provider and review the service level agreement you have with this provider. Because here's one thing. There are a lot of cloud providers, like I said, they focus on the usability part of things. So they make sure, like your cloud services are running smoothly, but they don't really focus on security. So maybe that's another thing you need, to check if you use a third party to make sure they have good security countermeasures in place as well. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions. With services, I think there's another question from David. Less fast being hacked.
I was just going to say, Gary McDaniel has raised his hand if he wanted to.
Yeah, Gary, please go for it. Yeah. Gary, you can unmute yourself and talk. I'm not sure if you can hear us. There you go. Gary, can you hear us? He unmuted himself, but Gary, we can't hear you. I'm not sure if you're trying to talk, but we can't hear you. Okay, well, let's take one question until, Gary, hopefully you get the audio situation resolved. So David asked, with service like LastPass being hacked recently, what's your recommendation on password managers? Is it better to keep physical password books or hand password storage devices not internet connected? Yeah, absolutely. I will absolutely against physical password books. Like those are usually the worst and they are very hard to manage. I usually would say definitely password storage devices not internet connected. Absolutely. Yeah, that would be the way to go. And I'll be honest with you, and actually that's a very good question. David, at some point, like passwords will disappear, because a lot of people struggle with password and how to store password, but we are actually entering now the era of biometrics. And I think very soon, once biometrics really became more accurate and it became cheaper for organization as well to implement, I think we will really move away from passwords, and that's why, like, most people right now, if you have if you have an iPhone, or you have Android, we just use facial recognition most of the time. We use biometrics. We don't really use password. But yeah, definitely, I would not do the physical password books. Let's say Brian, a PhD student in cybersecurity. I wanted to ask if you had any suggestion for dissertation topics, more than what your interest, or what was your favorite class? Okay, so Ryan, here's that's a loaded question for topic, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes it is really like the way. This is just my opinion. The way to find actually a dissertation topic, you have to go through literature. Literature is the answer. You have to do literature review about the area you are interested in. You have to see what kind of recommendations like scholars do for research. So let's say if you are into let's say if you want to do something about AI, so you need to read in the literature about AI. And usually when you see the recommendation for further research, this is where I would come up with topics. But really, right, like I said, right now I can just say, oh, we can do it about X or Y or Z. I would say definitely pick an area that you like, and then go to the literature, read some of the journal articles or researches, and see what would they recommend for further research. This is the way to go, because a lot of the students would be like, I really like this area. I'm gonna do something about it because there's not a lot of research about it. Well, if there is not a lot of research about it, like, in my opinion, it might not be very practical for a dissertation. But once you get your PhD, guess what? Sky's the limit. You can pick whatever topic you want. This is just my opinion. What are your interests and what's your favorite class? That's a tough one. So, in my opinion, like my interests, like in my opinion, my favorite class always have been and always will be penetration testing and digital forensics. Those two topics are two of my absolute favorite topics. I really like penetration testing. I think it's fun. I think it's challenging. And this is one thing I like about cybersecurity. Also, like I said, digital forensics is really huge. And I always tell people, we tend to focus more on cybersecurity, but we don't really talk much about digital forensics. Digital forensics is really a huge field. Today, for example, at least 70% of crimes, even, by the way, the one that I'm not talking just cyber crimes, I'm talking crimes in general, they actually get resolved using digital forensics. And that's really a big field, right? A big field right now. It's a very hot field. Let's see. What's your opinion about data-driven architecture versus securing the whole thing? So here's my thought about that, about the data-driven architecture and versus securing the whole thing. In my opinion, I don't feel like they are one-size-fits-all kind of situation. I feel that you need to conduct some sort of risk assessment. You need to figure out the size of organization you work with and what kind of assets do you have. And I think based on this, both of this information, you can be like, you know what, this is the best, that's the best approach to go. Because here's the deal. Think about it this way. A lot of the time, people actually, when they think have a lot of security, appliances, it's a good thing. That will make us feel more secure. No, if you don't need it, it's actually going to be more pressure on you. Why? Because you have to manage all these appliances. You have to manage all these devices. You might end up needing more personnel. So I always tell people, you have to walk the fine line between security and usability, and again, the budget. because believe me, like your supervisor, your boss, first thing you're gonna tell you is how much this is gonna cost us. This is great, but how much is it gonna cost us, right? All right. And cybersecurity remains a critical topic of discussion in tech today. The challenge, however, is the industry is experiencing mass shortage. You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. I agree with you about the shortage we have. We are at least 1 million, 1 million position shortage, believe it or not. We have right now 1 million position vacant. No scenarios, no expectation, trying work and cybersecurity choosing from boot camps or certifications. Okay, so in my opinion, I feel like what advice you have for MBA student? Okay, my advice to you is, and this is the advice I tell all students. First of all, you are not the only student who have this situation. So that's just the first thing I'm going to tell you. I don't want you to feel like you're very unique and everyone else has like massive experience in cybersecurity. No, there are a lot of students actually who have MBA and go back to get their degree in cybersecurity. But my biggest advice to you is start really reading books about like introductory books about cybersecurity. And also, which is really very, very important, is take advantage of all the resources and services that the university actually offer. Yes, that's another thing. We have tutoring. We have an amazing success center, right? Take advantage of that. Those are all services readily available to you. Another thing, just talk to every professor who's really teaching you, and just in the beginning, I usually have a phone call with all my students. Talk to your professor and say, this is my background, this is what I'm coming from, So that's really very helpful for the professor as well. As far as certifications goes, all CompTIA certificates are really very important. So yeah, absolutely. Security Plus is a big deal. Net Plus, when you go a little bit more advanced, you can go to CA, Certified Ethical Hacking. There are a lot of certificates really you can go after. And Ryan, again, I can send in the chat box a link for CompTIA if you are not familiar with them. And they are number one when it comes to certificates, especially like entry-level certificates. So please take a look. And also, Ryan, I will be more than happy to actually share my contact information, and if there is any cyber student in a webinar would like to talk to me or contact me in the future, please feel free. And actually now I can send it to everyone, so that's great. So, and I'm gonna write my email in the chat box, and please feel free to contact me if you have any other questions. I think now, Jennifer, we use that NU, right? No more NCU, right?
Both should be active.
Okay, so I think this one usually works. So yeah, please feel free to do that. Okay. Do you have something that can help us to learn hands-on faculty doing digital forensics? I have CHFI, CHA, but don't feel like I know how to do digital forensics. Ryan, my biggest thing I will tell you is, have you did the virtual labs in EC Council? Yes or no? You did? I mean, usually those are pretty good. But actually, you know what? Today is your lucky day. Let me see. If you can email me, I'll send you a link to our website. There is actually a very good website that is funded by the National Science Foundation. And actually they have a real, not real, but simulation for some forensic cases that you can actually work with. And so it's like a good practice. So just send me an email and I'll send you the link. And this website, you're gonna find some really cool cases to work on. I think there are 5 or 6, but they are big cases. They are fictitious, but they are as real as it can get. National Science Foundation give, few scholars hundreds of thousands of dollars to create them. So they are really, very good cases. So just send me an email, I'll send you the link for these cases. Okay, great. So can you do me a favor? I sent my email. Please send me an email. Okay, just my email it's in the chat box. If you can just send me an email, I'll be more than happy to share all this information with all of you. Like I said, if you are a cybersecurity student, if you get your master's or your PhD, please feel free to contact me about any question you might have. And if you need any resources, I'll be more than happy to share these resources with all of you. Any other questions? We have 3 more minutes to go. You guys can take advantage of this last 3 minutes. Michael asked, for digital forensics, do you need a strong background in networking? David tried both. I think the NU work, I think the NCU work. I usually use the NU, but both should still be working. Michael asked, for digital forensics, do you need a strong background in networking? So Michael, that's a tricky question. I'll tell you why. Because actually, like for example, Ryan is a CHFI, right? That's a computer hack and forensic investigation. Technically speaking, you don't need a strong background in networking. You need stronger background in networking if you are doing digital forensics in networking. Like if you are working with capturing packets from the network, or if you're working with routers or modems or stuff like that, then yes. So like I said, digital forensics, it's not just, like a lump sum. No, there is computer forensics. This might not require a lot of networking, but if you were talking about digital forensics in the network, that's probably yes, will require strong background in networking. But the computer ones usually require more experience in retrieving data, analyzing data, and stuff like that. Also, again, if Michael, if you send me an email, there are actually some cool tools that you can use, and you can try to, explore. Autopsy is one of them. It's actually an open source. It's free. You can use it. Obviously, there is in-case there is FTK, but those are not free. Those you have to pay to use. There are plenty of resources today actually for digital forensics.
Thank you so much for sharing so much information. It's overwhelming. Lots, and also your personal contact information. I'm sure that students would reach out to you and get that information as well. We are at the end of the hour. Was there any last comments that you wanted to make before we go?
No, I really want to thank you all for joining me today. And again, I'm really so happy and so excited that a lot of people ask questions, a lot of people interacting, and people are really asking even about the program, because to be honest with you, this is the kind of people we need in cybersecurity. I always tell people, if you are into the field just because it's a good job, you are in the wrong place. You have to be dedicated, you have to be excited. Those are the kind of people we need to stop this kind of crazy madness going around us from hackers from other countries. So thank you all, and I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. And thank you, Jennifer, for facilitating this webinar.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone have a wonderful day, and this will be recorded and posted to our LibGuides page within 24 hours.